The coat check room at the Grandview Hotel smelled like expensive perfume and old wood polish, and Gabriel Owens had exactly $12 in his wallet to last until Friday. He folded another cashmere coat with practiced efficiency, his calloused hands careful with the delicate fabric, when he heard the sound that would change everything. A woman crying in the hallway just beyond his small closet of a workspace. Gabriel hesitated, glancing at the clock. His shift ended in 20 minutes, and he needed to pick up his daughter Mia from the after-school program before they charged him the late fee he absolutely could not afford. But the crying continued, raw and desperate, the kind of sound that bypassed logic and went straight to the heart. He stepped out into the marble hallway. She sat on an upholstered bench near the grand staircase, her elegant black dress at odds with the way she had crumpled into herself. Dark hair fell across her face as her shoulders shook with sobs. Gabriel approached slowly, the way he might approach a wounded animal. "Madam, are you all right?" She looked up, and even with mascara streaking her cheeks, she was striking. Her eyes were a deep brown, currently red-rimmed and swimming with tears. "I'm sorry," she managed, her voice thick. "I'm making a scene." "You're not," Gabriel said gently. He glanced around the empty hallway. "Do you need me to call someone? Medical help?" "No." She wiped at her face with trembling hands. "I just got some terrible news and I needed a moment, but there's nowhere to go in this place without photographers or reporters or people who want things from me." Her voice broke again. "My father just died. Heart attack. And I'm at this ridiculous gala because I couldn't cancel without raising questions, and now everyone knows and they're looking at me like I'm a spectacle." Gabriel's chest tightened. He knew something about loss, about trying to keep it together when everything inside was falling apart. "Come here," he said, making a decision. He gestured to the coat check room. "It's not fancy, but it's private." She blinked up at him, surprised, then stood on unsteady heels and followed him into the small space. Gabriel pulled out his own folding chair, the one he sat on during slow moments, and offered it to her. She sank into it gratefully. "I'm Gabriel," he said. "I work the coat check." "Natalie," she whispered. "Natalie Crawford." The name clicked in his mind like a key turning. Natalie Crawford. The Crawfords owned half the commercial real estate in the city. Her father, Richard Crawford, had been one of those names that appeared in newspapers, usually followed by words like billionaire and philanthropist. Gabriel kept his expression neutral, grabbing the bottle of water he kept for himself on the small shelf. "Here," he said, handing it to her. "Not much, but it helps." She took it with a grateful nod, drinking deeply. They sat in silence for a moment, Gabriel leaning against the counter while she collected herself. He should check the time, should worry about Mia, but something kept him rooted in place. "My daughter lost her mom 2 years ago," Gabriel found himself saying. "Car accident. She was 6 at the time. I remember feeling like I had to hold it together every second because Mia was watching, but sometimes you just need to fall apart somewhere safe." Natalie looked at him with new eyes, something shifting in her expression. "I'm sorry, that must have been devastating." It was. "It still is sometimes." Gabriel ran a hand through his dark hair. "But you get through it, not over it, but through it, day by day." "Day by day," she repeated softly like a prayer. The sounds of the gala filtered through the walls, muted laughter and orchestral music, a world away from this tiny room. Natalie straightened gradually, taking deep breaths, her composure returning piece by piece. Gabriel watched her transform, the raw grief being carefully packaged away behind a mask of controlled elegance. "Thank you," she said finally, standing. "You didn't have to do this. Most people wouldn't have." "Most people should," Gabriel replied simply. She smiled then, small but genuine, and pulled a business card from a tiny clutch Gabriel hadn't noticed before. "If you ever need anything, I mean it. This is my private number." Gabriel took the card, expensive cardstock with embossed lettering. "I'm okay, but thank you. Keep it anyway." She hesitated at the door. "What's your daughter's name?" "Mia, she's 8. "That's a beautiful name." Natalie glanced back at the hallway, squaring her shoulders like a soldier preparing for battle. "I should get back before they send a search party. Thank you, Gabriel. Really." She slipped back into the hallway, and Gabriel watched her go before checking his watch. 10 minutes. He could make it if he ran. The next 3 weeks passed in their usual blur of barely making ends meet. Gabriel worked his coat check shifts at the hotel, picked up weekend security work at a shopping mall, and tried to be present for Mia despite the exhaustion that lived in his bones. She was his whole world, 8 years old with her mother's bright smile and his stubborn determination. They lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood that wasn't great but wasn't terrible. And Gabriel counted every dollar like it mattered because it did. He had forgotten about Natalie Crawford, or tried to, filing her away as a single intersection of lives that would never cross again. Then his phone rang on a Tuesday evening while he was helping Mia with her math homework. "Is this Gabriel Owens?" The voice was professional, crisp, speaking. "This is James Chen from Crawford Enterprises. Miss Crawford asked me to reach out to you regarding a potential employment opportunity." Gabriel's hand tightened on the phone. "I'm sorry, there must be some mistake." "No mistake, Mr. Owens. Miss Crawford was quite specific. She's looking for someone to head security operations at the Crawford building downtown. The position comes with full benefits, competitive salary, and standard business hours. She thought you might be interested." "I don't have experience running security operations for a building like that," Gabriel said carefully, even as his mind raced. Standard business hours, full benefits. That was the kind of job that could change everything. "Miss Crawford is aware of your background. She'd like to interview you herself if you're interested. Tomorrow at 2, Gabriel looked at Mia, bent over her notebook with her tongue poking out in concentration. "Tomorrow at 2, he confirmed. The Crawford building occupied an entire block downtown, all gleaming glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Gabriel wore his only suit, bought secondhand for his wife's funeral, and rarely touched since. The receptionist directed him to the top floor, where the elevator opened directly into an office that seemed to exist in a different stratosphere from the rest of the world. Natalie stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city. She turned when she heard the elevator, and Gabriel was struck again by how beautiful she was, though today her beauty was polished and professional in a gray suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent. "Gabriel," she said warmly, crossing the space to shake his hand. "Thank you for coming." "Miss Crawford, I appreciate the offer, but I need to be honest. I don't know if I'm qualified for this position. Sit, please." She gestured to a leather chair. "And call me Natalie. You helped me on one of the worst nights of my life without expecting anything in return. That tells me more about your character than any resume could. Character doesn't necessarily translate to competence," Gabriel pointed out, but he sat. "You worked private security for 6 years before your wife passed," Natalie said, and Gabriel realized she had done her homework. "You have excellent references from the hotel and your current employers. You're responsible, thorough, and people trust you. Those are the qualities I need." "Why are you really doing this?" Gabriel asked directly. "We're strangers." Natalie leaned back in her chair, considering him. "Because you treated me like a person when I needed it most. And because I've spent the last 3 weeks dealing with people who see me as a business opportunity or a target or 100 other things that have nothing to do with who I actually am. It's exhausting." She paused. "And because my father always said the best business is the kind that changes lives. So let me change yours, and in return, you'll make sure this building and the people in it stay safe. Fair trade." Gabriel thought of Mia, of the stack of bills on his kitchen counter, of the way his back ached from standing all day. He thought of health insurance and regular hours and being able to take his daughter to the movies without calculating the cost of popcorn. When would I start? Natalie's smile could have lit up the whole city. How about next Monday? The job was everything promised and more than Gabriel had dared hope. He managed a team of 12 security personnel, coordinated with building management, and implemented protocols that kept everyone safe. The salary meant Mia could join the soccer team she had been eyeing. It meant groceries without anxiety and a new winter coat that actually fit her, but more unexpectedly, it meant seeing Natalie nearly every day. She worked constantly, often late into the evening, and Gabriel found himself staying late too, citing security sweeps or schedule adjustments. They would run into each other in the quiet hallways, and conversations that started as professional updates would drift into something more personal. How's Mia adjusting to your new schedule? Natalie asked one evening, finding Gabriel in the security office reviewing camera footage. She's great. Started soccer last week and scored 2 goals in her first game. Pride warmed his voice. That's wonderful. You should be at the games, though, not here at 8 at night. Gabriel looked up at her. I could say the same to you. When do you stop working? When it's done. But her smile was tired. There's always more to do, especially now. Taking over my father's position means proving myself constantly. To who? You own the company. To everyone. The board, the investors, myself. She sat on the edge of his desk. It's different for women, Gabriel. I have to be twice as good to be considered half as competent. From what I've seen, you're the best person for the job regardless of gender. Something shifted in her expression, vulnerability breaking through. That means a lot coming from you. Their eyes held for a moment too long, and Gabriel felt something stir in his chest that he hadn't felt in years. It terrified him. Natalie Crawford existed in a different universe, one of boardrooms and galas and private jets. He was a single dad from a working-class neighborhood who had gotten lucky. Whatever this feeling was, it had nowhere to go, but he couldn't stop noticing things about her. The way she took her coffee with too much sugar and not enough cream. How she twisted her watch when she was thinking. The rare, genuine laugh that was nothing like her polished business smile. She asked about Mia constantly, remembered details, seemed genuinely interested in their lives. Bring her by sometime, Natalie said one Friday afternoon. I'd love to meet her. Gabriel hesitated. Letting Natalie into that part of his life felt significant, like crossing a line he couldn't uncross. But Mia had been asking about his new boss, curious about the woman her dad mentioned increasingly often. She has a soccer game tomorrow morning, Gabriel said slowly. If you wanted to come to that. Natalie's face lit up. I'd love to. Text me the details. Watching Natalie Crawford sit on aluminum bleachers at a youth soccer field in worn jeans and a simple sweater was surreal. She cheered when Mia scored, groaned at near misses, and fit in with the other parents like she had been doing this forever. After the game, Mia ran over, sweaty and beaming. Did you see, Dad? Did you see my goal? I saw, baby. You were amazing. Gabriel hugged her, then gestured to Natalie. Mia, this is my boss, Miss Crawford. Natalie, please, she said, kneeling down to Mia's level. Your dad talks about you all the time. That was an incredible goal. Mia studied her with the unfiltered assessment of children. You're really pretty. Are you my dad's girlfriend? Mia, Gabriel's face heated, but Natalie just laughed. No, but I'm lucky to be your dad's friend. He's one of the best people I know. They went for ice cream after, the three of them squeezed into a booth at the local parlor. Mia chattered about school and soccer and her best friend Emma, and Natalie listened like there was nothing else she would rather be doing. Gabriel watched them together, his daughter and this woman who was slowly becoming essential to his days, and felt his carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. She's wonderful, Natalie said later, after they had dropped Mia at home and were standing by Natalie's car. Thank you for letting me meet her. Thank you for coming. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Natalie looked up at him, and in the fading light her eyes were impossibly warm. Gabriel, I need to be honest about something. I'm not great at this, at personal connections. I spend most of my time working or fulfilling obligations or being the person everyone expects me to be. But when I'm with you, I feel like I can just be Natalie, not the Crawford heiress or the CEO or any of it, just me. Gabriel's heart hammered against his ribs. I feel the same way. You make me feel like I'm more than just surviving, like I'm actually living again. Is this crazy? She asked softly. I'm your boss. There are 1,000 reasons this is complicated. Probably, Gabriel admitted. But I haven't felt this way since before my wife died, and I'm tired of being afraid of everything. Natalie stepped closer, and Gabriel could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive. What are you afraid of? That you'll realize I'm just a regular guy who can barely keep his life together. That this is some fantasy that will disappear when reality sets in. That I'll mess this up and lose the best job I've ever had and hurt Mia in the process. You're not just anything, Gabriel Owens, Natalie said fiercely. You're kind and strong and you make me laugh and you see me as a person. Do you know how rare that is? And I would never let this affect your job, ever. That's a promise. Your world and my world are pretty different, Gabriel said, but he was weakening, wanting to believe this could work. Then we'll build a new world, Natalie whispered, one that fits both of us. She kissed him then, soft and tentative, and Gabriel felt something click into place inside his chest. He pulled her closer, deepening the kiss, years of loneliness and fear melting away in the warmth of her embrace. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Natalie was smiling. "So we're doing this?" she asked. "Yeah," Gabriel said, grinning. "We're doing this." Dating Natalie was both easier and harder than Gabriel had imagined. Easier because they fit together so naturally, their conversations flowing from serious to silly without effort. Harder because her life came with complications he had never considered. Paparazzi caught them leaving a restaurant together, and suddenly, their relationship was tabloid fodder. The headlines ranged from curious to cruel, dissecting their age difference. She was 32 to his 35, hardly scandalous. His background, whether she was slumming or he was gold digging. "Ignore it," Natalie said firmly when Gabriel brought it up. They'll move on to the next story soon enough. But Gabriel worried about Mia seeing the articles, about the scrutiny affecting her. Natalie understood his concerns without him having to explain them fully. "We'll be careful," she promised. "Mia's well-being comes first, always." She meant it. Natalie never pushed for more time than Gabriel could give, never made him choose between her and his daughter. Instead, she folded herself into their lives gradually, carefully. She came to more soccer games, helped Mia with a school project about successful businesswomen, brought over pizza and played board games on Friday nights. "I really like her, Dad," Mia said one evening after Natalie had left. "She's nice, and she makes you smile a lot." "She makes me happy," Gabriel admitted. "Is that okay with you?" Mia thought about it seriously. "Yeah, but does this mean she's going to be around a lot more? Would that be all right?" "As long as you don't get all mushy and gross," Mia said, wrinkling her nose. Then she hesitated. "Do you think you'll marry her?" Gabriel's breath caught. They had been dating for 4 months, serious and committed, but still finding their footing. "It's too early to talk about that, baby. But you love her, right? I can tell, out of the mouths of 8-year-olds. "Yeah," Gabriel said softly. "I think I do." He told Natalie that night, unable to keep it inside. They were at her penthouse apartment, a space so luxurious it still made Gabriel slightly uncomfortable, curled together on her couch after dinner. "I love you," he said into the quiet. "I didn't plan to say it yet, but Mia asked me today if I was going to marry you, and I realized I'm in love with you. Completely." Natalie pulled back to look at him, her eyes bright with tears. "Gabriel Owens, I have been in love with you since you gave me your chair and your water bottle and treated me like I mattered. I've just been waiting for you to catch up." They made love that night with a new intensity, a claiming and a promise wrapped together. Afterward, lying in her enormous bed with the city lights twinkling beyond the windows, Gabriel felt a contentment he had thought was lost to him forever. "Marry me," Natalie whispered against his shoulder. "I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but I don't want to waste time pretending I'm not sure." "I'm sure. I want you and Mia and this life we're building. Marry me." Gabriel turned to face her, seeing the vulnerability in her expression. This powerful woman who commanded boardrooms and made million-dollar decisions was offering him everything, trusting him with her heart. "Yes," he said simply. "Yes, I'll marry you." They told Mia together the next day, Gabriel nervous despite knowing his daughter's feelings. Mia looked between them seriously when they explained, then launched herself at Natalie with a fierce hug. "Does this mean you'll be my mom?" Mia asked, her voice muffled against Natalie's shoulder. Natalie held her tight, tears streaming down her face. "If you'll have me, I know I can't replace your mom and I won't try, but I already love you so much and I promise to take care of you and your dad forever." "Okay," Mia said, like it was the simplest thing in the world. "Can we get a dog now, since we're going to be a real family?" Gabriel laughed, the sound surprised out of him, and Natalie joined in. "We'll talk about the dog," he said, pulling both his girls close. Planning a wedding while managing public scrutiny and blending their vastly different lives was an adventure. Natalie wanted Gabriel to be comfortable, never pushing him toward the society wedding her position might demand. They compromised on something intimate, family and close friends only, at a beautiful venue outside the city. Gabriel's parents flew in from Arizona, his mother crying happy tears when she met Natalie. His father pulled him aside with gruff approval. "She's good for you, son. But more importantly, you're good for her. I can see it." Natalie's mother was more reserved, clearly assessing Gabriel and finding him wanting in some fundamental way, but Natalie shut down any criticism firmly. "Gabriel is the best man I've ever known," she told her mother in a conversation Gabriel wasn't supposed to overhear. "He's raised an incredible daughter alone, worked himself to exhaustion to provide for her, and somehow remained kind and genuine through all of it. If you can't see his worth, that's your limitation, not his." Gabriel loved her more for that defense, though he understood her mother's concerns. He was still adjusting to the reality of what marrying Natalie meant. Prenuptial agreements drafted by expensive lawyers, trust funds and investments he barely understood, the weight of the Crawford name. "I don't care about your money," he told her one night when the paperwork felt overwhelming. "I need you to know that." "I know," Natalie said. "But I care about protecting you and Mia. These agreements ensure you're both taken care of no matter what happens. It's not romantic, but it's necessary. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to be together for the next 50 years at least." "Then the paperwork doesn't matter anyway," she said, kissing him. "Sign it so we can move on to the important things, like whether Mia should carry flowers or ring cushions or both." The wedding day arrived in September, almost a year after Gabriel had first heard Natalie crying in that hotel hallway. He stood at the altar in a tailored suit that actually fit, watching his daughter walk down the aisle scattering flower petals with serious concentration. Then Natalie appeared, breathtaking in a simple ivory gown, and Gabriel forgot how to breathe. She held his hands and promised to love him through everything, to be a partner and a friend and a mother to Mia. Gabriel promised to support her dreams, to be her safe place, to build a life together that honored both their worlds. When they kissed as husband and wife, the small gathering erupted in applause, but Gabriel only heard his heart singing. The reception was perfect, intimate, and joyful. Mia gave a toast that was mostly about how excited she was to have a mom again, and also, could they please consider the dog now? Gabriel danced with his daughter, then with his new wife, holding Natalie close as they swayed to music and planned their future in whispered words. "I want more children," Natalie said. "Is that okay? I know you already have Mia, and if you're done, I understand." "I want that too," Gabriel assured her. "Mia would love siblings." "Good," Natalie murmured, smiling against his neck, "because I want a house full of noise and chaos and love. I want everything with you." They moved into a new house together, something between Gabriel's modest apartment and Natalie's penthouse. A real home in a good neighborhood with a yard and enough bedrooms for the family they planned to become. Mia adjusted beautifully, thriving under Natalie's attention and the stability their combined resources provided. Gabriel transitioned to a different role at Crawford Enterprises to avoid any appearance of impropriety, heading up security consulting across all Crawford properties. It suited him, giving him flexibility and challenge in equal measure. He was good at his job, and the whispers that he had only succeeded because of his wife eventually faded in the face of his competence. Natalie scaled back her hours, learning to delegate and trust her team. She made it home for dinner most nights, helped with homework, attended every school event and soccer game. She was present in a way her own parents never had been, determined to break that cycle. A year after their wedding, Natalie discovered she was pregnant. They told Mia over breakfast, watching her face cycle through confusion to understanding to pure joy. "A baby," she shrieked. A real baby," Natalie confirmed, laughing as Mia launched herself across the table to hug her. "You're going to be a big sister." "This is the best day of my entire life," Mia declared. Then she paused. "But we're still getting the dog, right?" They got the dog, a golden retriever puppy that Mia named Sunny. Gabriel found himself living in controlled chaos, a pregnant wife and an excited 9-year-old and a puppy that chewed everything, and he had never been happier. The baby, a boy they named Oliver, arrived on a snowy February morning. Gabriel held his son for the first time and marveled at the journey that had brought him here. From standing in a coat check room barely scraping by to holding his newborn while his wife rested and his daughter cooed over her baby brother, it felt like a lifetime compressed into 2 years. "You okay?" Natalie asked softly, watching him from the hospital bed. "I'm perfect," Gabriel said, voice thick with emotion. "You gave me everything, Nat. A second chance at love, at family, at life. I don't know how to thank you." "You gave me just as much," Natalie said. "You showed me what really matters. Not business deals or social standing or any of it, just love and kindness and being there for each other." She held out her hand and Gabriel took it, careful not to jostle the baby. "We saved each other, Gabriel." Mia climbed onto the bed carefully, peering at her baby brother with wonder. "He's so tiny. Can I hold him?" Gabriel transferred Oliver to his daughter's arms, supervising carefully as she cradled him with surprising gentleness. The four of them, their new family, complete in that moment. Life settled into a beautiful rhythm over the following years. Oliver grew from infant to toddler to a rambunctious little boy who worshipped his big sister. Mia blossomed into a confident teenager, secure in the love of her expanded family. Gabriel and Natalie navigated parenthood and partnership with the same teamwork that had defined their relationship from the start. They had their challenges. Sleepless nights with a colicky baby. Mia's teenage mood swings. The constant balancing act of work and family. Natalie's mother remained distant, though she eventually accepted Gabriel in her stiff way. The media never quite left them alone, though the stories became more benign over time, but they also had countless ordinary moments that felt like miracles. Saturday morning pancake breakfasts with everyone talking over each other. Family vacations where they built sandcastles and collected seashells. Quiet evenings after the kids were in bed, Gabriel and Natalie curled together on the couch, still finding new things to talk about. Gabriel never forgot where he came from, the fear of empty wallets and mounting bills. He established a foundation through Crawford Enterprises to help single parents, offering job training and placement services, childcare assistance, and emergency financial support. It became his passion project, a way to extend the same kind of help that had changed his life. Natalie supported him fully, often joining him at foundation events and contributing her business expertise. She told him once that watching him help others with such genuine compassion made her fall in love with him all over again. When Mia graduated high school, giving a valedictorian speech that thanked her parents for showing her what love and perseverance looked like, Gabriel cried unashamedly. His little girl, who had lost her mother so young, had grown into a remarkable young woman. She was heading to college on a soccer scholarship, planning to study business so she could eventually join the foundation work. "You did good, Dad," she told him at her graduation party, hugging him tight. "Mom would be proud, and thank you for giving me Natalie. I got really lucky in the mom department, getting 2 amazing ones." That night, after the guests had left and Oliver was asleep and Mia was out celebrating with friends, Gabriel found Natalie on their back porch, looking at the stars. "Thinking about what?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "About how different my life would be if you hadn't stepped into that hallway," Natalie said, leaning back against him. "If you had just stayed in your coat check room and minded your own business." "I would have always wondered about the crying woman," Gabriel admitted. "My life would be smaller, lonelier. I wouldn't have known what I was missing, but I would have missed it anyway." "We found each other at exactly the right time," Natalie mused. "Both of us struggling in different ways, both of us needing someone to see us clearly. Best decision I ever made, helping you that night. Best decision I ever made, offering you the job." She turned in his arms to face him. "But really, the best decision was falling in love with you." Everything else just flowed from that. Gabriel kissed her softly, deeply, with all the love of their years together and all the promise of years to come. "I love you, Natalie Owens. Thank you for building this life with me." "I love you too," she whispered. "Always." 2 years later, they welcomed their second child together, a daughter they named Grace. Oliver was thrilled to be a big brother, and Mia came home from college every chance she got to help with the baby. Their house was full of noise and laughter and the beautiful chaos of a growing family. Gabriel still sometimes pinched himself, unable to believe this was his reality. He would catch sight of Natalie across a room, chasing after Oliver or nursing Grace or simply existing in their space, and feel overwhelmed with gratitude. She had given him so much more than financial security or social standing. She had given him love, partnership, and a future he had stopped believing possible. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they returned to the Grandview Hotel for dinner. Gabriel arranged to visit the coat check room, now staffed by a young woman working her way through college. He told her his story, about how a simple act of kindness in that very room had changed everything. "Never underestimate the power of seeing someone's humanity," he said. "You never know when it might change your life." Later, walking through the same hallway where he had first heard Natalie crying, Gabriel pulled his wife close. "Want to know a secret? Always," Natalie said. "I would do it all again. Every struggle, every difficult moment, every fear. Because it all led me here to you, to our family. I wouldn't change a single thing." Natalie's eyes shimmered with tears. "Me either. Crying in that hallway was the luckiest breakdown I ever had." They laughed together, the sound echoing in the elegant space, and Gabriel thought about the man he had been that night. Exhausted, worried, barely hanging on but still choosing kindness. That man could never have imagined this future, but he had made it possible by simply being himself. Years continued to pass, marked by the milestones of their growing children and deepening love. Oliver started school, showing signs of his father's protective nature and his mother's sharp mind. Grace grew into a happy toddler with an infectious laugh. Mia graduated college and joined the foundation, bringing fresh ideas and boundless energy to the work. Gabriel and Natalie grew older together, finding new depths to their relationship as they navigated each stage of life. They argued sometimes, disagreed on parenting strategies or business decisions or where to go for vacation. But they never lost sight of what mattered, never stopped choosing each other first. On Oliver's 10th birthday, during a party filled with children and chaos and cake, Gabriel found himself in the kitchen with Natalie, stealing a quiet moment while everyone else was outside. "Remember when we thought our lives were complicated when it was just us and Mia?" he asked, watching through the window as their children played. "We had no idea," Natalie agreed, laughing, "but I wouldn't trade this for anything. The noise, the mess, the constant motion. This is what happiness looks like." "Yeah," Gabriel said, pulling her close. "This is exactly what happiness looks like." They had built something extraordinary from that chance encounter in a hotel hallway. A love story that started with tears and kindness and blossomed into a lifetime of partnership. Gabriel had been struggling, barely keeping his head above water when he chose to help a crying stranger. That choice, that moment of compassion, had saved them both. Now, surrounded by the life they had created together, Gabriel understood that love was not about grand gestures or sweeping romance, though they had experienced plenty of both. It was about showing up day after day and choosing each other. It was about building something real and lasting from a foundation of mutual respect and genuine affection. Natalie had given him security and opportunity, but more than that, she had given him herself. Her strength and vulnerability, her ambition and tenderness, her complete and unwavering love. In return, Gabriel had shown her that she was worthy of being loved not for what she could do or provide, but simply for who she was. As the sun set on Oliver's party, the family gathered on their back deck for the cake ceremony. Mia held Grace on her hip while Natalie helped Oliver blow out the candles. Gabriel stood back, capturing the moment on his phone but mostly just absorbing it with his heart. This was his family. His wife, his children, the life he had built from almost nothing. And it had all started because he heard someone crying and decided to care. Later that night, after the kids were in bed and the house was finally quiet, Gabriel and Natalie sat together in their bedroom, exhausted but content. "Thank you," Gabriel said softly. "For what?" Natalie asked, puzzled. "For seeing me, for loving me, for choosing this life with me even when it would have been easier to choose someone from your own world." "Gabriel," Natalie said seriously, taking his face in her hands, "you are my world, you and our children, this life we have built together." Everything else is just background noise. She kissed him gently. I chose you because you are exactly who I needed, and I would choose you again every single day for the rest of my life. They held each other as they drifted toward sleep, two people who had found each other against all odds and built something beautiful from that connection. The struggling dad and the billionaire heiress, united by compassion and sustained by love. In the morning, their children would wake them too early. There would be breakfast to make and work to do, and a million small moments that made up a life. But tonight, Gabriel Owens fell asleep holding the woman he loved. Grateful beyond measure for the night, he stepped into a hallway and changed everything. Their story was proof that kindness mattered, that taking a chance on connection could transform lives, and that love, real and true and deep, could be found in the most unexpected places. From a coat check room to a lifetime commitment, from strangers to soulmates, they had traveled the distance together. And they would continue traveling together, through whatever joys and challenges lay ahead, bound by the promise they had made and the love they had built. Gabriel and Natalie, partners in everything, proving that sometimes the best love stories start with the simple decision to care about another person's tears. Their happily ever after was not perfect or easy, but it was real and it was theirs, and that was more than enough. It was everything.